Testing, testing.
We can just yell for the next 4 years.
Check, 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 check. Just, check, 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 check. Okay.
I hate it
On
when
the
people
side.
do that, because Bob Thornton, it gives me PTSD. Yes, yes, you're not kidding. I might have made that point when I was on the phone on Friday. Yeah, thank you.
Check, check, 1, 2.
I know the tension is killing everybody out there. And everybody knows our wonderful high school band director, Steve Conan. From the award-winning Norwood High School Mustang Marching Band. All right. Good? All right, I'm going to call the meeting to order. Welcome back, everybody. Last week, we commemorated Veterans Day with a beautiful ceremony and parade. Tonight, I would like to honor our veterans and active military by asking all veterans and active military to please stand. All right, please remain standing, and town meeting, would you rise, and let's honor our veterans and our country by saying the Pledge of Allegiance, followed by a moment of silent reflection and prayer. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. You can sit down, please. All right, for a quick announcement, as a reminder, if anyone in District 8 is interested in being on the Rules Committee, we have had a resignation on the Rules Committee, so we do have an opening from District 8. Please send me an email after town meeting so we can fill that vacancy. All right, we're going to be using electronic voting again tonight. Thank you to everybody who noticed that the numbers were not in order earlier this evening. That means that you are looking at the screen, which we appreciate. So now we're going to ask everyone to test their clicker. And you may see the lovely Emily from the town clerk's office who's up here, who's actually manning our electronic voting tonight, and womaned it the other night as well. So our test question is, will Norwood beat Dedham? The voting is now open. Please test your clicker.
Do you really want to say no to this?
Thanksgiving Day football game. Lumpy chick.
As you test in your clicker, remember the last vote that you do counts before I call the voting closed. If you leave the hall, remember, please take your clicker with you. and leave it with the town clerk, not this town clerk, but at one of the tables by the town clerk. Do not leave it with your neighbor. Do not let your neighbor vote for you. And at the end of the evening, we would appreciate it if you return your electronic device in the baskets as you're greeted as you leave the hall. All right, let's close it, and I think everybody should see up. And the vote is, obviously, most people think we are going to beat Dedham, 113 to 15 with 7 abstentions on this question. All right. Few reminders before we kick off. First off, I'm addressed as Madam Moderator. All questions go through the moderator. When called upon, if you're a town meeting member, please state your name and district. If you are not a town meeting member and you're just a resident, please state your name and your address. If you're a spokesperson for a group affected by an article, you must state so. Please stand when you are called upon. But again, we're going to use multiple mics tonight. It looks like we've got one back there. We have one up and 2 right in front. If you are unable to get to a mic, we will get a mic to you. Just raise your hand, no problem. Sponsors of an article have 10 minutes to make a presentation. Subsequent speakers have 5 minutes, and you can be granted a one-time extension by the body. Remember, when we move, if somebody moves the question, it doesn't mean that we have to approve the question, but it does take a 2/3 vote, and it is not subject to debate. So you control it. Again, if we don't hit 2/3, we go back to debate. Only town meeting members can make motions and vote, and only motions will be accepted for business that's been published in the warrant. And if you've registered to speak, I'll call on you in the order in which you registered. So as a reminder, tonight, once again, NCM is broadcasting live, and I ask the body once again to please treat each other with dignity and respect each speaker. I know you guys can do it. All right, I'm now going to declare a special town meeting back in session. We're picking up at Article 9, which is the 2026 Capital Improvement Plan. Before we go to the motions, I'd like to ask Bob Donnelly, who's chair of the Capital Outlay Committee, to provide a brief report. Mr. Donnelly.
Thank you, Madam Moderator. So on behalf of the Capital Outlay Committee, I'm presenting the FY26 Capital Outlay Plan. As you are aware, Article 15 of the Town Bylaws establishes the membership and role of the Capital Outlay Committee. Section 4 of the bylaw states that annually the committee ascertain what capital outlays will be required by the town during the next 6 years, and that it publish and distribute to town meeting an annual report on its recommendations for scheduling and financing capital outlays. So the entire report is available at the table at the entrance to the hall. I'm going to briefly go through the overview and before we go into the motions and presentation. As this year's chair, first order of business, I would like to thank the committee members for their work on the capital improvement plan. This year's members are Kevin Connolly, who serves as vice chair, Eric Fleming, Ann Haley, David Hiltz, Tim McDonough, Ernie Padzikowski, Dave Tuttle, and Mark Hooley. And ex officio members include Tony Mizuko, Jeff O'Neill, Clayton Cheevers, and Alex Hagerty. And I would be remiss if I did not also thank Assistant General Manager Mike Rosen, who has served as support to the committee, and he has done a great job keeping us on track with our meetings and all the materials associated with this year's plan. If we go to the first slide, the process slide, this is just a summary of the capital improvement plan process that we follow this process annually. So the town departments, probably around the time that we're meeting for annual town meeting, are already reviewing their infrastructure, their equipment, their assets, looking at the condition of those assets to determine, based on their expertise, about the project's usage and useful life. So they're doing the detail that they're going to come forward with us to support their recommendations. So projects are added. We have a 5-year plan, and projects are added to the capital plan based on condition and needs. So we're looking specifically this evening for projects for FY26 and funding for FY26, but the entire report also reports on the out-year plans, the out-year projects that we anticipate we'll be looking at in the years to come. The Capital Outlay Committee then will have a series of meetings, recommend the expenditures for the upcoming fiscal year. That plan is then reviewed by the Board of Selectmen and the Finance Commission. They review the recommendations that are presented to you today. And this evening we are here on item 5 to vote on those recommendations for official appropriation of the FY26 plan. And implementation of those plans or those projects will occur after this fall meeting. And project progress is reviewed monthly by the Board of Selectmen, and the process repeats yearly. So this particular year, our committee has met 5 times in 2025 to organize the committee work, receive and review proposed capital projects, and speak to department heads to understand their proposed projects thoroughly. This included an August 4th meeting where the committee was able to see some of the major equipment proposed for replacement in the town hall parking lot. We called it Touch a Truck event. And we, at that time, reviewed equipment such as the ladder truck, the DPW highway truck, and the ambulance. These are equipment that is proposed in this year's plan for replacement. The committee was also able to tour the library. Thank you, Mr. Cheever, for that, to see the damage being caused by the water infiltration in the building envelope at the library. So on September 15th, after having completed its due diligence, the committee voted to support the capital projects that are on tonight's warrant, and the vote was unanimous. Before I turn it over to the Finance Commission for each motion, here is a summary, if you go to the financial summary, Lisa, for the proposed funding sources for the 26 plan. The motions this evening will be organized around these buckets of financing. So we have $5,092,000 that we are recommending for expenditure from free cash. We have $5,950,000 for general fund borrowing, and $4.5 million from our water rates borrowing through our enterprise fund. And we have a 4th motion specific to a $500,000 project based on an MWRA loan. I should note that this, and also in addition to the free cash, one of the projects in the free cash bucket is also supported from $25,000 for the recreation revolving fund, and we'll get to see that specifics in a moment. I would also note that this year's plan has been approved both by the Finance Commission and the Board of Selectmen, both on the projects and on the funding. Just a couple of updates before we move on. So the plan that's out on the table has these 2 updates only. So these were based on discussions that the Board of Selectmen had with the Finance Commission, as well as a change in scheduling of a project for the airport. So the Capital Article 9 motions have been modified to reflect these changes. They are in your report. They're not changed right now, but we weren't able to make those changes for the report that's on the table this evening. First change was that we had a project for the airport's helipad lighting project for $17,500. That has been withdrawn and has been postponed to the FY27 capital plan based on input from FAA. And the new ladder truck, Engine 1, it was originally scheduled to be a borrowing project, and instead it is now recommended that the $3 million in free cash be used as a funding source. So again, the motions, we have 4 motions this evening to reflect the buckets of financial sources that you see, we saw it previously. What we'll do at this time is that for each motion, The Finance Commission will read the motion, and after the motion is read, Mr. Mizuko will take us through a slide presentation on the projects associated with that motion. And we have our department heads here, so at that point in time, there'll be opportunity for discussion and questions. And I want to also thank the department heads for being here this evening, for all the work and input they've given us as a committee along the way. So at this time, I'll turn it over to the Finance Chair, and thank you very much.
Actually, you're going to turn it over to me, Mr. Donnelly, but I appreciate it.
Well, we'll turn it over to Madam Moderator. My apologies.
That's okay, not a problem. Actually, you're making my job very easy. We're going to do a series of 4 different motions. We'll take each motion separate, which is going to be by financing source, and we will be able to discuss each project individually or each item individually. So no fear there. With that, the motion by the Finance Commission.
Motion 1, free cash. Move that the town appropriate the sum of $5,092,000 to pay costs of the various fiscal year 2026 capital improvement plan projects in the amounts and for the purposes set forth in the following table, including the payments of all costs incidental and related thereto, and that to meet this appropriation, $5,092,000 is transferred from free cash for such projects.
And Mr. Fleming, you're seconding that? Thank you. All right, Mrs. Sullivan, anything on the motion?
The Finance Commission supported this unanimously, 5-0. We agree with the change to fund the ladder truck with $3 million of free cash.
Okay, thank you, Mrs. Sullivan. All right, Mr. Mizuko, you're going to take us through, and we'll move over to, these are all the items that are part of motion 1, which is to use free cash. Mr. Mizuko.
Thank you, Madam Chair. If we could go to the first slide. This project would pave the runway safety areas at the end of the airport. It corrects a safety deficiency. As with most of our airport projects, it is funded mostly by the federal government. This is actually only about 10% of the cost. I do want to assure everyone this is simply paving an existing unpaved area of the runway. It does not change the classification of the airport. It does not change the type of plane that can land at the airport, and it will not lead to an increase in planes landing at the airport. It's simply an unpaved runway area at the end of the runway that is recommended to be paved for safety purposes. Next slide. We are also looking to replace the carpet at the public safety building. We try to get these quality of life issues for our buildings replaced around their life cycle. The carpet is original to the building. It has reached the end of its useful life. As carpet ages, it does begin to cause mold and quality issues, and the public safety building is a 24/7 all-weather facility. I know the picture doesn't do it justice. It is not a two-tone carpet. It is simply very dirty in some areas. Next slide. This project would replace the appliances at the kitchen at the Civic Center. There is a small kitchen at the Civic Center that is used by the rec department staff and the rec department programming. They do cake decorating and cookie decorating and other programs out of there. As you can see, it's quite dated. We're going to take half of this from free cash, and the other half will come from the Recreation Revolving Fund. A portion of the fund for every recreation program is paid into that revolving fund so that eventually money can come out to replace facilities or make repairs to the facilities. Will likely be mostly steel tables and steel shelves. This is somehow an older residential kitchen that got installed in a commercial building sometime in the early 1980s. Next slide. That is in direct opposite to the kitchen appliance replacement at the senior center, which is a modern commercial kitchen that gets used usually 4 days a week and additional times. Most of the equipment is approaching the end of its life cycle from when it was put in. This kitchen prepares around 100 meals daily for the senior center. They have a unique program with the Walpole Tech Collaborative where a chef actually comes in with his students and prepares meals that the seniors pay for every single day at the senior center. That being said, if the equipment goes down, we can't offer the meal program at the senior center. With the addition several years ago of a generator to this facility, this is also a backup emergency kitchen should we need to utilize one. Next slide. This project would provide design funding for a room to store turnout gear. Many of you are familiar, our current public safety building has limited storage. The best and good practice in equipment storage is to get equipment off the floor to store it where it can't be subject to contaminants. Firefighters face a significantly higher risk of cancer, of occupational cancer, and their gear does contain PFAS. Unfortunately, there is no PFAS-free turnout gear as of yet on the mass market in the United States. So this would remove the gear from the room. This would design a room where we'd be able to take the turnout gear, remove it from the engine floor, and properly store it in properly stored equipment, climate controlled, maintaining maximum safety for our firefighters and maximizing the extended life of our turnout gear. This would likely follow up with a construction project to add on to the building in the next year or so. We're hoping that comes in the $1 to $2 million range based on it's really just an equipment storage room for the turnout gear. Next slide. Unfortunately, with the continued closure of Norwood Hospital, we are seeing a need to replace our ambulances on a more regular schedule. We used to be able to go out 4, 5, 6 years. Unfortunately, now we're seeing that timeline shortened quite a bit. We are still seeing, unfortunately, roughly 2-year timelines for ambulances, as well as significant cost escalations in the purchase of the vehicle. This doesn't add to the number of ambulances we operate, it replaces an existing vehicle. Next slide. The Hyper-V system replacement is just replacing physical servers that store a lot of the town's data on them. Next slide. This is the following year payment for our police taser replacement program. This is a 5-year lease program. When that expires, we'll either look at buying in bulk or adding the item to the operating budget. Next slide. This will replace Truck 47, which is a DPW salt truck. In the operating budget, every year in May, we provide for a replacement of regular DPW vehicles. That's their fleet of pickup trucks. We do still come to capital outlay for replacing their larger vehicles. This vehicle is a 2007 vehicle that is currently used during sanding and salting operations. Next slide. The outdoor bathrooms at the lower Balch are being proposed for renovation. This is the bathroom and storage area around Elliott Field. It has exceeded its expected life cycle, and we're looking to replace and repair damage to the building and just upgrade it so that it is modern and usable for the folks who use it for those fields. Next slide. Last but certainly not least is a replacement of our ladder truck at a cost of approximately $3 million. There was an article placed out on the table. We're facing similar challenges to every other community in the country with fire engine replacement and ladder truck replacement, namely that a combination of tariffs, material changes, private equity getting involved in the construction of fire engines has caused prices to balloon since before the pandemic. Equipment prices have ballooned. The lead time is 3 to 3.5 years out, and any of the vendors on the market, and there's only a few of them, are really not guaranteeing anything other than they will put you in line to have your truck started. The core truck itself specs out at between $1.9 and $2.1 million. The truck does contain about $500,000 of equipment. Fortunately, that is $500,000 in today's dollar. The vendors that we use for our fire equipment, we're seeing 10% year-over-year increases in the cost of the equipment. And towns around the Commonwealth and around the country are reporting that midway and mid-cycle of a truck being constructed, they're being hit sometimes with a $100,000 or $200,000 increase in charges based on when the order is placed and based on when they actually begin constructing it. So it's unfortunate that costs have continued to spiral the way they have. We do think it might come in a hair under $3 million. We're hopeful it does. But it is a truck that we will use for at least 15 years, if not longer. We're ordering it now, even though our current ladder is 12 years old. It is having some issues, and to meet a replacement at year 15, we need to actually place the order now to make sure we can have a truck available in 3 years when we do hit our life cycle. And with that, thank you, Madam Moderator. I will turn it back over to you.
Thank you, Mr. Mizuko. Okay, I do have a few registered speakers, and I am going to call on the registered speakers for each motion. You can pass if you don't want to speak on the items. Mr. Alfanos, you are up first with Ms. Mankiewicz following right after.
Thank you, Madam Moderator.
And you're going to tell me who you are, right?
Gregor Fanos, District 9.
Thank you.
Today. So, a lot of these items are budget items. So again, why aren't they going into the budget for, coming up in May? And then I also have, well, let's just start there, then we'll.
All right, Mr. Mizuko, do you want to take the question on why they're not in the budget?
Yes, thank you, Madam Moderator. That's a great question. So a couple of things to consider. This is actually last year's capital. We moved our capital several years ago to being in the fall for a couple of reasons. One, it did have to do with the timeline around COVID. Two, it allows us to put our projects out to bid and get bids in over the winter, which means we're at the start of the construction season. So this would have been in last May's budget should we want to do that. Now, the idea that why aren't these items in the operating budget is multifold. One is neither the town nor the school operating budget have enough flexibility to simply add $50,000 or $100,000 projects in them. Most of these departments comparatively are very small. That money simply doesn't exist in the operating budget. You would simply be inflating the operating budget by free cash in May versus spending free cash on one-time items. It's also a bad budgeting practice because what that does over time is you try to look at the history of a department budget, you'll see it swinging up and down like this. The fire department's a great example. It's a $9 million, $10 million budget. You would see it go up by $3 million the year we buy a truck and then down the following year. So when you're trying to actually track your expenditures and where your budgets are growing, you would always have your capital in a separate line. But there's also simply not enough money in the fire budget or in the police budget, even their operating budget, for even a $50,000 expenditure. Those budgets are just kept to what those departments need to operate throughout the year.
Follow-up, Mr. Orfanos?
Yes, please, thank you, Madam Moderator. On the ladder truck, how many quotes did you guys get?
So there's only about 3 vendors that do it. We purchase the same engines that Boston, so we'll get quotes from each of the vendors that do it, but this is unfortunately where these costs are coming in at.
Another question, Mr. Orfanos?
Yes, what's the mileage on the ladder truck? And do we have a mechanic that does our repairs?
Do we need the chief to answer that, or Mr. Mizuko, is he?
I think the chief is here and he would love to answer that.
And we have a microphone right back there. Thank you, Chief.
Madam Moderator, the ladder truck currently has 49,000 miles on it.
Follow-up, Mr. Orfanos?
And do we have a mechanic that does the work on our trucks?
Yes.
Yes, we do, but when the work is extensive, we have to send it out. And the issue last year, we were without the truck for about 5 months. We're currently without the truck right now for the last week, dealing with major leaks throughout the truck, having gaskets replaced. So we do stay on top of it, but some of it has to be sent out.
Thank you, Chief. Mr.
Thank you.
Orfanos?
Thank you.
All right, Ms. Mankiewicz, and then Mr. Lynch will be right after, so the mic is going to just stay in that area. Ms. Mankiewicz.
Ann Makowitz, District 7. Regarding the carpet replacement and the 2 kitchen items, have you people approached Home Depot since they actually operate in Norwood? I know that they got involved with replacing the Balch school windows. Were they part of the bid? Because they usually tend to be very generous in the neighborhoods where they exist.
Mr. Mizuko?
Thank you, Madam Moderator. They wouldn't bid on a project that we would have to put out to bid. We're always hitting up a variety of businesses in towns to see where and when they'll contribute. Most of these projects are a little bit on the larger size for them to be willing to contribute, but we're constantly hitting businesses up to give us money where they can. The gym at the police station is one that comes to mind. A couple of years ago, $50,000 was donated for the gym. We're always trying. It's just finding somebody that wants to give money and finding a project that they want to give money for at that time.
It's just that I do know that they do discounting on carpets and on appliances, and you can order industrial appliances through them. I worked for them for 9 years.
Anything else, Ms. Mankiewicz?
That's it. Thank you.
Thank you. Mr. Lynch?
Ed Lynch, District 7. Thank you. This is to the boards, committees, and officials of the town. You people have again presented another unsustainable and unrealistic spending package to this feckless town meeting. As you know, this town is fully funded through 6/30/26. The cost of this town meeting through free cash and borrowing after approval will be another $25 million more dollars, separate of and in addition to the current approved fiscal year 2026 balanced budget. Coincidentally, there is $25 million in free cash at the start of this special town meeting. You also heard the FinCom clearly say that we have a structural deficit. Stop. Is that a hint? So at the last couple of special town meetings, town meeting had approved well over mid-$50 million range, again, separate from the funded budgets of those years. So how much can this town afford? How many new vehicles, equipment, renovations, building remodels, and real estate purchases do we need? Does it make sense? So we should try to curb our spending, scale it back, offer a plan B, and put a freeze on purchasing of some of these items per year. Do not just count on another override to fix your financial miscalculations and grandiose projects. The real estate taxes of many residents have doubled in the last 6 years after the first 2 overrides. So preying on town meetings' generosity and a lack of understanding is wrong. Maybe one day they will say no. And I just found it weird that it's a town meeting and there wasn't a peep on anything at all about the hospital. So let the chips fall where they may. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Lynch. All right, that's it for registered speakers. Anyone from the body? Mr. Palmetier, and then Mr. Shea.
Brian Palmetier, District 8. Could you explain the reasoning behind switching the ladder truck from borrowing to taking the whole thing out of free cash?
Mr. Mizuko will take that.
Thank you, Madam Moderator. The thought was that if we were to borrow originally for the truck, it can only be borrowed over 15 years. So you're probably looking at an annual debt service payment, call it $200,000 a year, that would have to get added into the operating budget. 300. We could argue, we can get a final number, but that's a significant number that would get added to the operating budget every year. Whereas if you pay cash for it, you're paying cash one and done. Because it can only be borrowed over 15 years, it's a much bigger hit than if we could borrow it over 30 years.
So, Mr. Palmetier, the answer is to save money on the operating budget.
Okay, so but does it, I'm guessing, and you can relay this question, that it also saves us money in general. This is by, I know sometimes I pay cash for something because I don't want the interest and because I can get a discount for paying cash. Is there anything built into that to where paying cash for it is going to make it easier to, or do we have this antitrust thing where there's only 3 vendors out there and we're kind of over a barrel, we have to pay what we pay?
Mr. Mizuko, do you want to take that?
Yes, thank you, Madam Moderator. There are only a few vendors, and we are definitely over the barrel, like every other city and town in America on that. We get a small discount by being able to make a progress payment at the time when they ask for a payment. There'll be 3 progress payments, but it's relatively minimal because even when we borrow, they'll still after a year say, okay, pay us $1 million. We borrow the $1 million, and they're still sort of getting their cash. I think the last time we looked at it, it might save us $20,000 in the whole value of the truck, but it's not significant, unfortunately.
And could I ask one more fire truck question?
Absolutely.
I heard when the chief got up and talked about the current truck that has less than 50,000 miles on it, that's already been out of service for 5 months and now it's out of service again. Is there any kind of warranty on this kind of thing to where it seems to me like if I had a car that started giving up the ghost and needed to be in the shop for 5 months with less than 50,000 miles, can somebody kind of help me understand what's going on there?
Thank you, Madam Moderator. So a couple of things. It's important to note that the mileage for a fire truck or an engine isn't always the metric to go by. These vehicles get beat up 24 hours a day. 7 days a week, and they're in constant use. I don't say it's never, it's rarely leaving town, so it's more about the abuse that the vehicle takes, and there's a different level of reliability. The ladder doesn't always work, but it needs to work when we need it to work to be able to provide service to the community. So as it becomes unreliable, it's not a second tier or backup vehicle that we could just allow that to happen. We put the community at risk every time the vehicle is down and not able to be used. There's a short-term warranty on parts and construction, but it's usually not beyond a couple of years. When we purchased this vehicle, we didn't buy all the equipment at once. We bought them over in the next year or two, and that really strained the operating budget of the fire department, which also strained the ability to make sure we're making repairs and maintenance early on in the vehicle.
So the short answer is the warranty is only for a couple of years, so no.
And if I'm understanding,
Yeah.
the wear and tear is like not just the miles to get there, but it's
Correct.
sitting there at whatever site and whatnot. Do we have any kind of a backup, or are we relying on neighboring towns, for example? We have two very tall buildings in town that I'm guessing if there was an actual fire there, we'd need a ladder truck. Do we have backup from neighboring towns for this truck being out of service?
I'm going to ask the chief to answer this one, Mr. Mizuko. As much as we might get you a little red helmet, I think we'll ask the chief.
Madam Moderator, we rely on mutual aid for a ladder truck when ours is down. We have asked other communities that have two ladder trucks if we could borrow one, but there's nothing available. This particular fix is short-term, but on the longer-term fixes, we did ask, and there was nothing available at the time.
Thank you, chief.
Right.
All set, Mr. Palmetier? Thank you.
Thank you.
Mr. Shea?
Thank you, Madam Moderator. Jerry Shea, District 8. We are living in uncertain economical times, and since we cannot predict what the future holds or emergencies that may come up over the winter, to make a decision at this time concerning free cash and borrowing and spending money may leave us with a fiscal problem next spring. It is for these reasons that, as a responsible town meeting member, I make a motion to delay this article until the town budget and school budget have been approved.
Do you want to actually make a motion to delay?
Yes.
So wouldn't the same thing would be voting no?
I'd like to make the motion.
Okay, so you want to make a motion on these set of items, all items for indefinite postponement?
Until after the town budget and school budget have been passed.
Well, you can't actually do it after the town, it'd have to be indefinite postponement would be the motion. Does anybody want to second that? Mr. Alfanos is seconding. All right, we need you both to come up here to write out the motion. This is an amendment, so you're making a motion to amend for indefinite postponement. And if you come over and see the town clerk. Okay. All right. So that is now, the amendment is now on the floor. Any discussion on the amendment for indefinite postponement? Ms. Palmetier just called out. Okay. Go ahead, Ms. Barros.
Good evening, Carolyn Barrows, 576 Neponset, District 8. Just to clarify again, this is the place that we talk about one-time purchases, correct?
That is correct.
Not the budget, meaning that's the May one, correct?
That is correct.
And all of these items are one-time purchases.
That is correct.
Thank you, Madam Moderator.
Anything else on the amendment? Mr. Donnelly.
Thank you, Madam Moderator. So what we're looking at in terms of this plan is the FY26 plan. We fund in the November timeframe because we have a good sense now that free cash has been certified. Free cash always is a major source of funding for capital projects. To delay till May will have some negative effects. For one, Chief Bailey will now be another 6 months behind in ordering a fire engine, ladder truck, ambulance, as well as all the other attended items that are in this motion. You're only kicking the can down the line. The department heads have prioritized these projects. They are in need of replacement. I see no sense in indefinitely postponing this article.
Thank you, Mr. Donnelly. Anything else on the amendment, the motion to amend? Yes. Ms. Doyle.
Hi, Cheryl Doyle, District 6. Got the right one this time. I understand what they're doing, but here's where I have a problem. When it comes to fire and safety in this town, I think that should always take a priority, because the cost is just going to rise. We still don't have the hospital, so that means the ambulances are just going to keep getting beat up. So 6 months adds more trouble for us when it comes to the fire truck, when it comes to the ambulance. Some of the other stuff, yeah, I could see, but not on fire safety, because that is this town's livelihood.
And thank you, Ms. Doyle. Ms. Sawchuk?
Amy Sawchuk, District 4. Would it make more sense to maybe take these items individually, and then people might be able to vote individually on what they would like, rather than, either up or down on the whole warrant of articles there or items?
Well, that would take a motion because there's a motion on the floor and there's an amendment to that motion. So we're taking this amendment first. What you could do is turn down the amendment, and then someone could make another amendment to actually take different items out of the budget, or out of this particular motion.
Okay, well, so this motion has to go through first then?
Yeah.
Okay.
This amendment has to go through
the
first.
amendment, thank you.
Mr. Hall.
John Hall, District 6. Notwithstanding the very strong language Mr. Lynch used in making his case, this is not that unusual. Every time we get together to vote on a budget, there are uncertainties that could go in a number of different ways. I was originally going to raise my hand and ask whether all of the stir in Washington, where programs are being canceled left and right or reduced to near zero in budgets, was going to trickle through to here. And I expected the answer would be, we don't know. The answer to many of these things are, we don't know. And in fact, if you waited until the school and other budgets are settled, they get settled based on the information that's available. We won't know with exactitude what the situation is for those. So I think this is kind of like accepting the higher cost of delaying action in the hope, which I would argue is futile, that we'll get enough of the information we don't have to be a bit more comfortable in making a decision later, notwithstanding the fact that having delayed that law is going to have a ripple effect on the cost of many of these items. I just don't see the value of, or the defense of this proposal.
Thank you, Mr. Hall. Mr. Mon.
Dennis Mon, District 8, move the question.
All right, Mr. Mon has moved the question. Mr. Connolly is seconded. That is not debatable.
The amendment to majority or two-thirds?
So it's called, you move the question on the amendment.
Save this first.
It's on the amendment.
And what's the on for the amendment? What is the vote? Is it a simple majority or two-thirds?
It's going to be 2/3 on the motion, on the call, on the move the question.
Yeah.
And then the
You're going to
amendment
save
would
this
be
first.
majority.
Majority for the amendment.
All right, sorry, folks, we're just making sure we're getting the electronic voting going. All right, so there is a motion, move the question, has been moved, which takes a 2/3 majority. We're moving the question on the amendment. So if this passes, and we will open the vote, then we will vote immediately on the amendment. Again, this is a 2/3. Vote is now open. Ten seconds. Let's close the vote. 121 to 16, the question has been moved. That now takes us to the amendment, which is indefinite postponement. When we get that up, that will be a majority vote. If you want to go with indefinite postponement and make that the main motion, you would vote yes. If you don't want to go with indefinite postponement, you would vote no. Voting is now open. Ten seconds. Let's close the vote. That motion fails, 15 to 120. All right, now we're back to the motion as proposed by the FinCom. Mr. Brody.
Steve Brody, District 4. I'd like to make an amendment or a motion that each item be discussed and voted on separately as a separate item.
I don't think that's a motion that I can accept, Mr. Brody.
Okay.
If you'd like to try to make a different amendment, because that's out of the scope of our rules.
Well, an amendment.
Do you want to make an amendment to take any items out?
Yeah. An amendment to discuss each item and vote on each item individually.
Now, Mr. Brody, I'm not going to, I can't allow that. That's a complete change of our rules. So unfortunately, I can't do that. But if you want to amend the motion to take items out rather than vote on each one separately, we can do that.
Take the items out of the...
In other words, if there's certain items you want removed from the motion,
No, just vote on each one.
can't vote on each one separately, but if you want to amend the motion to say you want this item taken out, and only approve certain items, you can do that, but you'd have to list the particular items you want taken out.
Right, but if you take them out of the motion now, then the only one remaining would be this one. We could vote on that, and then we could make a different motion on this. Right?
You want to?
I was just trying to help.
Okay.
I have to recognize.
Mr. Brody, why don't you do this? Why don't you sit with maybe Ms. Bodenhofer, gather your thoughts. I'll call on a couple of other people. How's that? I know what your intent is. You want to take certain items out. We can't vote on everything separately. We could? Yeah. All right. I mean, if the body wants to change the rules to actually have us take each item separately, we can do that. So, you want to change the rules to have each item taken separately on this motion? Is there a second? Mr. Hearn? No. Ms. Homewood is seconding. Yep. Are you saying this is a rule violation, Mr. Connolly?
Yeah, pretty much. Vote to move back. I believe it would require a two-thirds majority, change the rule.
Correct.
Thank you.
You're quite welcome. I was getting there.
Where in our rules does it say we can't separate it?
Mr. Hearn, do you have a point of order as well? I'm sorry?
Well, yes, it is.
David Hearn, District 4. Madam Moderator, I think what Mr. Brody may be trying to do is to divide the question.
Yes.
And I think you suggested that to, it seemed to me you were suggesting that to Ms. Sobchak earlier.
Right.
A division of the question is a motion, a second is required, it is debatable, and is amendable under our rules. So I don't know whether that actually would fit within the rules. I realize we have another motion pending, but this is in the nature of an amendment to that motion. And I think that's what Mr. Brody is trying to do.
I believe you are correct, but that is a change. So I think he's trying to actually, well, Mr. Brody, you want to vote on each one of these separately?
Yes.
Which is a little bit beyond the scope of dividing the question, but I think we can be liberal about it.
Madam Moderator, I don't think it's within the scope of the warrant, outside of the scope of the warrant article. It is not asking that we not vote on matters. It's only asking on the procedure that we take to vote on them. So I would agree that this is within the scope and that we can do it without being even too liberal.
Okay.
Thank you.
All right, so, Mr. Brody, you have an amendment or a motion, and Ms. Homewood, you're seconding that. Can you please come over to, and what we're talking about doing is dividing up and voting on each project separately. Yep. For motion one.
It makes more sense to vote on it separately. To be honest. It makes more sense to vote on it separately.
All right, so this is a division of the question. It's to take each item on motion one separately. We have a second. It is debatable, and it is amendable.
Hey, Jerry, is that a simple majority or two-thirds?
Simple majority. All right, so let me open it up on doing a division of the question, and in this case, to vote on each item separately. Any discussion? Mr. Yusi. You can just kind of,
Paul Easy, District 3. Could we see the list of the items again, please?
we sure can. Lisa, can you put them up? All right, anything else on the motion? Seeing none, as soon as we get set up, we will put it to a vote. And again, this is going to be on the division of, to have separate, division of the question or separate consideration, which is for each item separately.
This is two-thirds or majority? Majority, right? Yeah, I think so too. Okay.
Now, the good news about electronic voting is it makes everything easier for a tally standpoint. The bad news is we have to reset. So, all right, are we ready on? So we are voting on amendment. Well, we're actually voting on the division of the question. On Article 9, Motion 1, this is to take, simple English, it's to take each item separately. If you're voting yes, we will do that. If you're voting no, we will not. Mr. Connolly, do you have another point of order?
Yes, Madam Moderator. What is the threshold? Is it a 2/3 or a simple majority?
It's a majority.
Simple majority?
It's a majority, simple majority. It's an incidental motion, and per our bylaws, it's a majority. All right, let's open the vote. Ten seconds. Let's close the vote. All right, the motion fails. That takes us back to the main motion. Ms. Eskow?
Thank you, Madam Moderator. Tony Esco, District 5. I want to verify that total of 5,000, 92,000. Is that now supposed to be the total with the new ladder trucks, with borrowing the whole 3 million?
So the 5,092 is all 11 items total. That would be from free cash.
Okay, because originally, the engine, we were gonna take 1,823,323, and we were gonna borrow some. See, I add this up and I get 6,092. I mean, 6,092,000.
No, that, Ms. Sullivan, do you want to take that?
Yes. The new pink sheets also moved the sidewalk repair, which was $950,000, to borrowing. So I think that might be the difference in your calculations. I don't know if you picked up a new pink sheet the other night, but we moved, the sidewalk repair went back to borrowing
Thank
as
you.
opposed to free cash.
That would do it. Thank you very much. Thank you, Madam Moderator.
Thank you, Ms. Eskow. Good question. Anything else on this motion? Mr. Hearn?
David Hearn, District 4. I just have a question. With respect to the police tasers, the committee's report, which I appreciate very much, said that the department has a 5-year lease on the units, obtained all new taser units in late fiscal year 23. So that would be the spring of 23. That would suggest we have a 5-year lease that runs to spring of 28. And if that's the case, what is the $51,000 for? And maybe Chief, somebody else will answer that, can answer that, Madam Moderator.
Chief, you want to take that, please? Chief Patton, Chief of Police.
I have to bend down a little here.
That microphone's set for me.
Sorry about that. Is this working? Anybody hear me? Chris Patton, Chief of Police.
He's got it.
So the original lease was for a longer period of time. We were able to, out of our budget, that was the year where we had a big transfer from payroll into expenses. When we were very short, so we had some extra money. We were able to pay off one of those years within our budget on the lease. Currently, what happens is this year and next year, and then would be paid off on the current tasers. So after that, if you look at the 5-year plan going out, they just continue to account for them. The problem is the tasers become obsolete because even though they're a piece of equipment, they're more like electronics. And the company, which is the only company out there, which is Axon, they sunset them. So that's one of the issues. So that's why it's still in the budget going forward.
Is there a follow-up, Mr. Hearn?
Well, I was just trying to, I understand they sort of age out, but if we had a 5-year lease, got all new ones in fiscal '23, the department will reevaluate in fiscal '29 or '30. I'm just trying to connect the dots on the years when this will be in the forefront of the department's acquisition.
So the reality is, because we're a year ahead, it will be more like 27. So 23 to 5 years would be 28, roughly. And I don't know, I don't actually recall when within a year we got the purchase, because they came in and they were being replaced. So we would probably, we might even get a year or two once they're done, that the TASER 7 is actually still viable and we can continue to, and then we wouldn't need money for a couple of years. But then we'd have to turn around and come back. So, you know, TASER, we're on TASER 7. That's the model that we use. TASER 10 is already out. So at some point, what the company's going to do is they're going to sunset out of that TASER 7 model, which is a 2-shot model, back to the TASER 10, which is a 5-shot model. And then they're basically going to force us to have to go back to them again.
So, Madam Moderator, from that explanation, does that mean we don't know whether we're actually going to spend this money at this point?
No, we're spending this money this year. We have to spend it. If we don't spend this money this year, we default on the payments for the current lease that we're in. It's a lease to own is the way the company sets it up. So it's 5 years.
All right.
We're not spending I apologize. We're not spending $51,000 for tasers this year. We're spending $51,000, it was like $200 and something thousand was the total cost for the tasers for the department, along with the service, the training, the training cartridges that we're required to use each year. So that's part of that cost.
All right.
Okay.
Except that clarifies. It's part of the acquisition cost and not the entire cost. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Hearn.
Sorry if I wasn't clear.
Well, that's all right. I certainly don't want to get into disagreement with the police chief who has tasers.
We would never use them on you.
Yes, sir, in the back.
Joe Sarno, District 4. Just a quick question with the fire truck. What are the plans for the old fire truck? Are we going to sell it? Are we going to keep it as a backup? And if we do sell it, what will the funds go back to free cash since we're paying cash for it?
All right, Mr. Sarno, we'll have the Chief Bailey, if you can answer that, please.
Ultimately, if it would pass test, which it probably would, it would be good to keep it as a reserve piece. The problem is we don't have any place to put it. I mean, we don't even have room in the station now for some of the stuff that we have, so that would be the other issue.
Okay. Is there a follow-up, Mr. Sarno?
So we would sell it, I guess would be the next step.
Chief?
Madam Moderator, you could try to sell it. Unfortunately, they don't give you much for them. Even on the trade-ins, we're lucky if we get $2,500 on some of these things after 10 or 15 years. They depreciate extremely fast, and they don't give us much for it. So,
Before you go, so would we then consider, maybe there's a lot of volunteer fire departments in the state, would it be something we would consider then at that point of maybe doing a donation to it if we couldn't sell it for pennies on a dollar?
Chief?
Well, Madam Moderator, we could ask the town how they would, if they wanted to sell it to them, maybe you could get more for the value of the truck by selling it, but it would be better than trading it in.
Perfect, that's all. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Sarno. Ms. Barros?
Carolyn Barrows, District 8. I had a couple questions about the airport runway. The language in the capital plan says that there is a safety deficiency in the airport runway, and I'm wondering, has this been a safety deficiency since the airport's inception? And if not, when did the airport runway become deficient?
All right. Do we want the airport supervisor? Here we go. And please identify yourself too, just in case people don't know who you are.
Thank you, Madam Moderator. Mark Raymond, Airport Manager. So the safety areas, they're 100 feet wide, 300 feet long. They currently exist. They're grass areas. The issue with them is in the wintertime, when we get snow on them, we can't plow them. And in the spring, they tend to get muddy. So then they're out of service. We'd like to have them available year-round. And the FAA has agreed with that it is a safety deficiency because we can't use them year-round. So that's the idea behind paving these areas.
So my question again is, 10 years ago, were they also considered deficient, or is this something that was just recently determined?
This has probably come up within the past 10 years that the FAA has pointed it out as a safety deficiency. We have a list of projects with the FAA that it goes out 10, 11 years. So we schedule projects every year on that list. And this is the project that's come up.
Is there a follow-up, Ms. Merrick?
Yes, ma'am. Considering the fact that we've had winters in New England forever, and that the runway has been muddy and unplowable for years now, what are the factors other than muddiness that make this runway deficient? Like, what factors impacting the airport have changed in the recent history that have made this an emerging problem now?
It has to do with, over time, the FAA changes their criteria on, what is sufficient and what is deficient. And this is not the whole runway. These are areas that actually, they're attached to either end of the runway. The runway itself, which is 4,000 feet long, is currently up to spec. It's just that these safety overruns are not.
Beyond the current safety...
Is there a follow-up, Ms. Barrett?
Yes, ma'am, sorry.
Okay.
Beyond the current safety overruns, once those are paved, is there property beyond them that could be then considered an unpaved safety overrun as well? Will the airplanes coming in ever need to go beyond the newly existing paved
No,
runway?
the 300 feet is for our particular category of airport. That's the design standard for that runway, is a 300-foot safety overrun on either end of the runway.
Okay, thank you.
All right. Yes, sir. Yep.
Michael Assad, District 9. On the ladder truck issue, I'm all for it. And from the previous question we just heard, we definitely need to keep that ladder in the town. Granted, the fire chief just said we don't have the room for it. You can make room, you can get a tent. I'm a retired firefighter. We did that in my town. We had a spare ladder, not a spare ladder, a reserve ladder. A reserve ladder is there to be used for other instances. If there's a fire in the town, call back firemen, can man that ladder. If you have a neighboring company, ladder company covering the town, you can send them back home to get to their back home, and then you have the normal guys operating that ladder truck. I believe there would be room in the back of the station to put a tent. It's heated tents. The fire departments do this all over the state when they renovate their fire stations. Granted, it can be worked out, but this town could use a second ladder truck, believe me. With all the big buildings, the apartment buildings, having that reserve piece there, just like a reserve engine, when often you guys come back, there's a piece to man it. What I'm trying to say is keep the present truck, keep the present equipment on it, and have the new equipment with the new ladder truck. Granted, it's a lot of money, but it's well worth it. And you got to think of the safety of the firefighters and the safety of the residents of the town to have the best you have. There's no way we should be selling that thing, because you're not, like the chief said, you're not going to get any money for it. Donate it to a third world country. Sometimes works with ambulances. It doesn't really work with fire trucks. Volunteers, you probably won't see many interest on it, especially if there's been past mechanical problems. I believe that once the truck is fixed again, when well, if it lasts for the 3 years that it's gonna take the other truck, it's a well worth investment for the town, and I think we should just go for it.
Thank you, sir. In the back. All right, do I have a second? All right, Mr. Connolly's always there. This question has been moved. That takes us back to the motion by the FinCom. If you want to move the question and then vote, it's a 2/3 majority. We will get that up in a sec. There we go. All right, on moving the question, I'm opening the vote. This takes a 2/3 majority. Ten seconds. Let's close the vote. All right. Question has been moved and passed. That takes us to the main motion. So again, a reminder, it's 11 items for free cash. And let's open the vote. This takes a majority vote. 5,092,000 from free cash. Ten seconds. Let's close the vote. And the motion carries 118 to 15 with 2 abstentions. All right, that takes us to Article 9, Motion 2, Ms. Sullivan from the FinCom.
Move that the town appropriate the sum of $5,950,000 to pay costs of the various fiscal year 2026 capital improvement plan projects in the amounts and for the purposes set forth in the following table, including the payment of all costs incidental and related thereto, that to meet this appropriation, the treasurer, with the approval of the selectmen, is authorized to borrow said amount under and pursuant to General Law, Chapter 44, Sections 7 and 8, or pursuant to any other enabling authority, and to issue bonds or notes of the town therefore. And further that the selectmen are authorized to apply for and accept any grants or aid for the projects provided. However, that the amount of the authorized borrowing for any project shall be reduced by the amount of such grants or aid received prior to the issuance of bonds or notes hereunder.
And there are 3 items that are under this motion for borrowing. Lisa, if you can put up the list. They are the roof replacement at the Willett, the facade issues at the library, and the sidewalk repair that was mentioned previously to Ms. Eskel's question. All right. Again, I have the same registered speakers. If they want to speak, Mr. Orfanos, you would be up first. Whoop, I'm sorry. Mr. Orfanos, let's hold off. I'm rushing through. Mr. Fleming is seconding, and Mr. Mizuko is just going to talk about the 3 projects briefly.
Thank you, Madam Moderator. If we could pull the first slide up. First up, under the proposed projects for borrowing is a replacement of the roof at the Willett School, estimated to cost $3 million. We did a study in the last 24 months looking at all of the roof conditions of all of our buildings, and the Willett is obviously come up as the #1 priority. This would be an entire replacement of the roof at the Willett. Next slide, please. Second, also pursuant to a long-range facility study we did on the library, or an existing condition study, I should say, on the library, is facade repairs at the library. We set out several years ago at the library to do some interior painting and other design work. When we realized the extent of water infiltration in the building, we put that on pause while we made sure we took a detailed look at the building to make sure we didn't throw good money after bad and just repaint an area and have more water coming in. We've done a thorough study of the building. There's a couple of phases to the project. The first one is to completely restore the, repair all of the facade issues, which will stop the water inflow into the building. It'll allow us to make some repairs to those areas that you see there. We'll button up the building well for the next generation, and then we can move on to making some improvements inside the building. Next slide, please. Finally is a sidewalk repair and replacement program. We are 1 year out from completing a 5-year road improvement program. This is designed as a 3-year sidewalk repair and replacement program, the first of 3 years to repair and replace sidewalks throughout town. We have historically done this back in 2005, 2016. This is the beginning of what will be a 3-year project to begin maintaining our sidewalks and upgrading them where needed. Thank you, Madam Moderator. Be happy to take any questions anyone has.
And now, Mr. Alfanos.
Thank you, Madam Moderator. Greg Alfanos, District 9. In reference to the Willett, the roof definitely needs to be done. There's no question of that. My question is how many quotes did we get for that project?
Mr. Mizuko, do you have that?
Thank you. It's important to note that these are estimates. We haven't gone out to bid yet. We have to get the authorization to be able to go out to bid. So any bid process we go through is a public open bid process. We hope we get a lot of quotes and a lot of bids in and that it's competitive, but we have not gone out to bid yet.
Follow up, Mr. Alfanos?
Thank you. Those of us here who are in construction, I made some phone calls last week in reference to the Willett. Now, are we planning to just redo the roof as it is, or we're going to build a different type of roof?
Mr. Mizuko?
I'll defer to the facilities director.
All right, we'll get Mr.
For these
Riccardi.
specifics.
Paul Riccardi.
Paul Riccardi, Facilities Department. There's 2 layers on the Willett roof. They both have asbestos in them. So we're at $60 to $65 a square foot because it has to be prevailing wage, which is basically the same as a union job. We have to have asbestos abatement people there. We have to have our hygienist on site, and an architect has to do up the design and be there for the construction management. So we have talked to some pretty big roofing companies that told us to look at around $65 a square foot, plus the cost of the design.
Follow up, Mr. Alfanos?
How many square feet for the roof?
39,902.
Thank you, Mr. Riccardi.
Thank you.
Follow up,
Thank
Mr. Alfanos?
No, thank you very much. That's the information
All right.
I needed.
Ms. Mankiewicz, do you want to? Okay, Ms. Mankiewicz is passing, and I think Mr. Lynch is no longer here. Ms. Homewood.
Debbie Homewood, District 3. We had a bid for the library for the paint last year. And we didn't do that work because we found water.
Madam.
Mr. Mizuko, do you want to take that?
Thank you, Madam Moderator. Yes, we put in the capital plan an appropriation for library painting. We did not get that work done. A couple of years ago, that project was rolled into the existing facility conditions report for the library to really look at what needed to get done.
Follow up, Ms. Homewood.
So that money wasn't spent, it was rolled back into the library budget, or?
No, by vote of town meeting, the project changed to be a existing building conditions report.
Okay.
Anything further? Okay. Anything else on the, Ms. Howard? Can we get a mic to Ms. Howard, please?
Judith Howard, District 3. Has flashing been included in the doors, the windows, in the chimneys of these facilities? I think there's some new type of flashing nowadays than the old. Thanks.
Is that the library you're asking about, or?
Well, it's any leaking
At
at the Willett,
at
at the library.
Okay, Mr. Riccardi, do you want to take the Willet? I don't know if you can take the library as well, but we'll have you answer that question for the Willet.
Paul Riccardi, Facilities. The Willet roof is leaking. When we replace the roof, all the flashing around the perimeter of the roof will be repaired. The windows are actually in pretty good shape, as well as the doors. We've had some green community initiative money that's been spent on that. The library is, the facade of the building has, moved a little bit, basically, with the weather extremes, and you get leakage. Caulking breaks down, and the water starts infiltrating. Last year, we did a pretty extensive study where they actually simulated rain and wind and sprayed the entire building and found the places where the water was infiltrating in. So all of the flashing and all that will be taken care of when we start fixing the facade.
Thank you, Mr. Riccardi. Ms. Howard, all set? Okay. Ms. Doyle?
Paul, stay up there.
Cheryl Doyle, District 6. What type of a roof do we have on the Willett? Is it a ballast or?
Mr. Riccardi? You may want to stay at the mic, sir.
Paul Riccardi, actually steps are good for me. It is a rubber roof, and if you think about a swimming pool, a vinyl pool, there's all different levels of grade of the liner. It's the same thing with a rubber roof. There's all different grades, and unfortunately, a lot in the public sector, we end up with not the best grade. So in our specs, when we draw them up, we're going to be requiring a really decent rubber membrane.
Follow up, Ms. Doyle?
Yes, please, through you, Madam Moderator. Do you know what type of material you're going to use? You're going to have spec out?
It probably will be like a Santa-Full roof, similar to what's on the junior high school and the high school.
One more question.
All right, go ahead, Ms. Doyle.
When you have this all ripped out, if any of the insulation that's on the roof and that, is that going to be part of the request that all that be replaced as you go along? Because I know a lot of times insulation on rubber roofs, ballast roofs or whatever, once they start leaking, the insulation breaks down and you get like these pockets in it.
Yeah, because there's also asbestos in the cement that is put on that roof, the entire roof is coming off. So we'll go down to the structure and then rebuild with new insulation and everything else.
Thank you, I appreciate that information.
Thank you, Mr. Riccardi. We'll see if we can get a few more steps in for you. Anything further? Seeing none, let's put this to a vote. This is $5,950,000 in borrowing for the roof replacement at the Willett School, facade issue repairs at the library, and sidewalk repair replacement. This is a 2/3 vote because it is borrowing. The voting is now open. Ten seconds. Let's close the vote. Motion passes 134 to 3. That is a 2/3. All right, that takes us to Article 9, Motion 3 from the FinCom. Ms. Sullivan.
Moved that the town appropriate the sum of $4,500,000 to pay costs of the various fiscal year 2026 capital improvement plan projects in the amounts and for the purposes set forth in the following table, including the payment of all costs incidental and related thereto, that to meet this appropriation, the treasurer, with the approval of the selectmen, is authorized to borrow said amount under and pursuant to General Laws, Chapter 44, Sections 7 and 8, or pursuant to any other enabling authority, and to issue bonds or notes of the town therefore, provided that while the bonds or notes shall be general obligations of the town, the debt service shall be payable in the first instance from water rates, and further that the selectmen are authorized to apply for and accept any grants or aid for the projects provided. However, that the amount of the authorized borrowing for any project shall be reduced by the amount of such grants or aid received prior to the issuance of bonds or notes hereunder.
And Mr. Fleming, you're seconding this, and it's one item, which you see right on the bottom, the Water Improvement Program, water rates borrowing. Mr. Mizuko.
Thank you, Madam Chair. If we could just go to the next slide, I'll be brief on this one. Thank you. This is year 6 of our 10-year plan to line all of our water lines in Norwood. The cast iron and ductile iron without a line was used prior to the mid-1950s. Unlined pipes have tuberculation, which gradually builds up on the interior walls and causes discoloration. The pipe on the right is, of course, a lined pipe. The pipe on the left is what the pipes look like in the ground. It causes discoloration in the water. It causes low water pressure. It also causes reduced fire flow capacities. We began this program at this point 6 years ago with the idea of doing it in 10 one-year increments. We will take a pause when the debt service from the water tanks hits to make sure we're not having too significant of a rate increase in any given year. We anticipate that being in FY 28 and 29, and then we would continue with our lining program until we finish the 10-year lining program. Thank you.
All right, thank you, Mr. Mizuko. And I do have Mr. Orfanos. You are registered on this one, as is Ms. Mankiewicz.
Thank you, Madam Moderator. Greg Orfanos, District 9. So how much are our water rates going to go up?
Mr. Mizuko.
Thank you, Madam Chair. So for this project, it gets borrowed over 30 years, so it's about a net impact of, call it $175,000. 1% rate increase is about $400,000, so roughly 0.5% based on this project. When we started the lining project 10 years ago, I'm not sure if my mic's really on as loud as it should be, but when we started this project about 10 years ago, we knew that there'd be an increase corresponding with the water project to get the work done, and we've been able to hold the rates at a reasonable level based on the actual costs that are coming in. This is incidentally another example of a project that by putting it out to bid now and getting it at the start of the construction season, this is the 6th year we've been able to get the same amount of work done for the same appropriation, not having to change the appropriation.
Follow up, Mr. Orfanos.
Thank you, Madam Moderator. So if someone's got a $100 water bill, just to break it down, you think it's an extra $5? Is that what you're thinking?
No, not 5%. We're probably looking at, worst case scenario, call it 1%. So maybe that $100 bill would go to $101 for this project. That doesn't take into account any other projects that are going on and any increases from the MWRA and the rest of our costs.
Thank you.
All right. Ms. Mankiewicz.
So I'm confused. Ann
Ms.
Makowitz,
Mankiewicz,
District 7.
Ms. Mankiewicz, you're going to tell us who you are?
Ann Makowitz, District 7.
Thank you.
So I'm a little confused. It's 1%, but it's 1% depending on what the MWRA might do with rates?
You want to clarify, Mr. Mizuko?
Sure, thank you. No, the impact of a project of this size is about a % impact on the rates. The MWRA is the bulk of our water and sewer department costs because that's what the charge that we get from. Those MWRA rates could go up. They sometimes go up every year. Our system share is highly dependent on where our rates come in from the MWRA. This will add about a % to the rates regardless of what the MWRA does. I don't want to say we don't control the MWRA, but Boston being a large user, if they use a lot less water, the rest of the system picks up that cost. So this as a standalone project, 1% is probably the worst it's going to impact rates.
Thank you.
All right. Anything further on the motion? Seeing none, let's put it to a vote. And again, this is borrowing, so it requires 2/3 majority. And this is to appropriate $4,500,000 for the water improvement
Yeah,
program.
it's-
Let's open the vote. Ten seconds. Let's close the vote. And the motion passed 131 to 6. That is a 2/3 majority. That takes us to motion 4, Article 9, motion 4, Ms. Sullivan from the FinCom.
Moved that the town appropriate the sum of $500,000 to pay costs of the fiscal year 2026 capital improvement plan project entitled Route 1 Water Main Improvement Design MWRA loan, as set forth in the following table in accordance with the rules and regulations of the Massachusetts Water Resources Authority, MWRA, Local Water System Assistance Program, that to meet this appropriation, the treasurer, with the approval of the selectmen, is authorized to borrow said amount at no interest from the MWRA under and pursuant to General Laws, Chapter 44, Section 8, or pursuant to any other enabling authority, and to issue bonds or notes of the town therefore, and further, that the Board of Selectmen is authorized to expend said sum for said purpose and to take any other action necessary to carry out the project.
And Mr. Fleming, you're seconding? Ms. Sullivan, I haven't asked you, I think you guys all approved
We
these.
supported this unanimously.
Yeah, unanimously. And Mr. Mizuko.
Thank you, Madam Moderator. I'm actually going to have Town Engineer and DPW Director Mark Ryan just speak to this project briefly.
Good evening, Madam Moderator, Mark Ryan, Director of Public Works, Town Engineer.
Hold on. Take that one.
I'll take this one.
Yeah.
Good evening, Madam Moderator, Mark Ryan, Director of Public Works and Town Engineer. This project before you is for the replacement of the main water main that feeds the Town of Norwood water system, where we connect to the MWRA near McDonald's on Route 1 near the Westwood Town line. Since 2008, we've been advocating for the intersection of Route 1 and University Ave to be upgraded to alleviate the traffic that everyone experiences when they go through it in the morning commute and then the evening commute. So for the past 20-odd years, or close to 20 years, we've been working with the state to get this project built. We were able to secure funds for the design of this intersection through discussions with University Station in Westwood when that was built, because they were adding traffic to that intersection. And then we went through the whole process with the state, and they're going to be funding the actual intersection work, which is nearing close to $28 million for that work alone. When the state takes a project on like this, they want the utilities to replace and upgrade their respective utilities. So the gas company will be upgrading their system, and we are recommending town meeting start looking to replacing that water main that exists there now. It's a 24-inch cast iron water main. It's 75 years old. It's the main feed for us that brings water into Norwood. By replacing this water main with a ductile iron water main, we'll get well over 100 years of service from it. So now's the time to do the work, because once the intersection work is done, the state will not be looking very fondly on us coming back there and doing any work in the future. The money's here right now. The $500,000 is through MWRA zero interest loan, and it's for the design of the work. The actual construction we have in fiscal 28 for $2 million.
Thank you, Mr. Ryan. All right, Mr. Orfanos, you're registered on this. You're passing. Ms. Mankiewicz, passing. Anything further on a 0% interest loan from the MWRA for this project? Seeing none, we're going to put it to a vote. And again, this is borrowing, so it's 2/3 majority for $500,000 for the MWRA plan, for the main improvement design MWRA loan, Route 1 water. Let's open the vote. Ten seconds. Let's close the vote. 134 to 2, that's a 2/3 majority, motion passes. Before I entertain a motion to dissolve, it takes a village to put this town meeting on. Thank you to the General Manager's Office and the Board of Selectmen, Sean from IT, team Town Clerk, Tricia, Marcy, Emily, and Lou, the Finance Department, Mr. O'Neill, Molly's in the audience there, the FinCom, the high school custodians and building department, NCM, and Kevin, our runner, and all of you town meeting members. Mr. Connolly. Do I have a second? All right, Ms. Sobchak. All those in favor say aye. Aye. All those opposed say no. See you at the winter town meeting, folks. Meeting's dissolved.
Good work. Good work.
对。